Hello everybody and welcome, and thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today. My name's Peter Sykes. I work in the Media Solutions team in Sony Europe, and I'm going to be the host for you over the next hour for this webinar, which we've called the Efficiency Edge. We're coming to you live today from Sony Centre in Pinewood Studios, and we're going to be talking about three components that are really central to live production today. The first is 5G, and we're going to be looking at the latest developments in 5G. And then we're also going to be looking at a new device which Sony has just introduced called the PDT-FP1, a new portable data transmitter. And then we're going to have a look at how these technologies can be combined with cloud for more efficient production. Now, I'm not here on my own today. We've invited and are happy to say we've got a fantastic panel to join us. We have, first of all, on my left, Markus from Deutsche Telekom, who's here with us today. Thank you for joining us, Markus.
You're welcome.
We have Hitomi Hamaba from Sony, my colleague from Sony, Gareth Steven from Whisper, and David Trepess, who's also working with Sony. We have a running order which we've put together to try and cover the subjects in an efficient manner. And we can probably have a look at that now. So you can see here approximate timings. We're going to try and keep approximately to these times. So after my brief introduction, we're going to spend 15 minutes or so talking with Markus about the latest developments in 5G, how we create efficiencies with 5G for broadcasting, specifically for live applications. And then we're going to move over to talk to David about the Sony PDT-FP1, the new portable data transmitter, which was introduced just a few weeks ago. We're then going to look at a real-world example of the use of the FP1, talking with Gareth at Whisper about how Gareth and David together ran some very interesting tests on the new device, combining those with cloud production. And we're going to finish off with a section and a discussion with Hitomi, who's going to drill a little bit deeper into the technology and the operation behind cloud workflows, again, specifically for broadcasting. And we're going to finish off, hopefully, at around 10 to the hour with audience Q&A, where we can take the questions that hopefully are going to be sending in to us today. So that's the running order. We're going to try and keep specifically to those times. So what I'd like to do without further delay is to start the discussion and really turn to you, Markus, and welcome you to the session. And maybe I can start by asking you to introduce yourself, say a little bit more about Deutsche Telekom and what your role is within the organization.
Yeah, first, thank you, Peter, for the invite, and I'm really happy to be here today. I have the great luck to be in this topic since the beginning. So Deutsche Telekom is working on additional capabilities, new capabilities of the networks, and enabling to customers by APIs. And I'm driving this program and project since the beginning, since the early 2020s. We went through a PowerPoint phase to convince people, which is needed, run through a lab phase where we invited first customers and created first feedback on these capabilities, up to tests in the live network, and now we are in a phase to commercialize it, to bring it into market. And for that, I'm really happy that now we are creating a line organization for this topic, and I'm in progress to hand it over. And it's a clear commitment of the company for that business.
Okay, well, it's great to have you with us today, Markus. Now, I know within Sony that we've been working and investigating 5G for live applications for some time, and also with our group company Nevion, which ran the EU-funded 5G Virtuoso project. And recently, over a number of years, Sony and Deutsche Telekom have been testing technologies together. Can you tell us a little bit about that and some of the things that we've been working on?
Yeah, we have now a partnership, I think, for many years. That's really great. I only want to mention three events. So the one is in, I think, 2019, was it? We worked on first tests in the live network. So you have had a very early version of this FP1 device, and we had a very early version of our 5G slicing, and we tested it together, and at the end we could very successfully present it to the public with the example of the marathon in Berlin.
Yep.
It was used in production, and it was the first time in Germany that a video stream was produced by cameras transmitted via 5G mobile network and broadcasted by a live TV station. It was the first time in Germany, and it was really a great success for us.
And I think you actually succeeded on getting pictures on air for a brief period during that test, which was quite an achievement at that moment in time.
Yeah. Then unfortunately we had to calm down a little bit through the pandemic, but after that we immediately recovered, and now we are working on the next generation of these things. So we are working on quality on demand. And yeah, I want to mention our tests in Krakow in the lab, which was very interesting, and I think we have a small video out of it.
Yeah, we've got a picture first, and then
picture first. Yeah, okay. Let's have the video later.
Yeah, we'll run the video a little bit later.
But we could present the whole topic in Barcelona to the whole world, and it was also a very successful stage for us. And thank you very much for joining us in Barcelona and presenting it there.
Okay, and I think we had a picture maybe come up in a little moment about showing what you were showing in Barcelona at Mobile World Congress. We'll wait for it. Maybe we can get that in a minute or so. There it is. Yeah, so that's an interesting. Maybe you could say a few words about what we're seeing here. We've obviously got a camera.
Yeah, we showed that we have several video streams, and we have optimized one of it. That's the one with the camera of the Telelight. That's the important one. And this camera then could send in 4K with best resolution, and all the others were reduced to a smaller resolution due to the limited bandwidth. And we could switch it immediately live, and that was shown in Barcelona.
Fantastic. Now, as we know, 5G technology is of interest to broadcasters because it offers the capability for operational efficiency and very high quality. But the demands of live production are very challenging.
Yep.
You know, we have large data rates that the cameras are generating. We need good uplink. Maybe there's many other people in the location where we want to operate. So what is it about Deutsche Telekom's network that makes it specifically suitable for those live applications?
Yeah, I think we have good basic technical capabilities to help these use cases. The one of it, we are able to create private 5G networks so that you have a complete different network and are separated from the public. That's the one thing. But a more simple thing is you can create slices in the public network and also create a kind of taxi lane. And if the route is crowded, then the taxis can drive very fast nevertheless. So that's the slicing topic. That's the second capability. But on top, we are working on this quality on demand. That is to optimize a certain video stream if you have more than one, which is the newest capability. And that's the thing we tested in Krakow. And possibly now it's the right place to have the video.
Okay, so let's run it.
The solution is very powerful example of how the camera API provided by Deutsche Telekom allow organizations such as Sony to develop and market 5G optimized solution for their client.
Okay, so we saw a lot of things happening in that video. There was a lot of technology from Sony and Nevion. We had the camera output going into a ultra-low latency encoder, and then onto the device that we're going to be talking about a little bit later with David, which is this FP1 portable data transmitter. And we had our Nevion video iPath orchestrating that process. And the video mentioned a mechanism for the Sony and Nevion components working with the Deutsche Telekom network through this API, which is the QOD API. So can you say a little bit more about how that works?
So this API creates an optimization of the dedicated data connection or of dedicated video stream, so that the video then runs very smoothly without interruption. And we could clearly show in this test, and you have seen it in the video, the result. So if you have a cell which is a little congested, you get these outtakes, and then it produces stocking videos and creates jitter. And to avoid it, this quality in demand API can be used to safeguard it and to avoid jitter and create a smooth experience for the user.
Okay, so the API is critical to the operation of,
yes,
of the two systems that are working together within the test.
That was the test result.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
And the result, you can see from the video that it was a great camaraderie between the engineers from Deutsche Telekom and Sony. There was a very good mood. Everybody seemed to be very engaged in what they were doing, good spirit of collaboration, and that really came through in the video.
Yeah, it's clear. We are a technology partner, and we have different parts, and if we solve it together, then we can create a great product.
Yeah. And what other kind of capabilities are offered through this API operation? We looked at optimization of bandwidth. Is there anything else that could be of benefit to the end user?
Yeah, possibly. I want first to mention the current solution. So I think we have here a lot of puzzle parts which we all can put together and create a great solution at the end. So we have the nice cameras, we have this compression device which reduces the bitrate dramatically. We have the FP1 which brings it in optimal way in the network. We have the capabilities of the network. Then we have the cloud orchestration, and putting it all together creates a good solution for the video production companies.
Yeah, and that was a message I think you were able to communicate through the Mobile World Congress demonstration, which I think attracted a lot of attention.
And each of us is necessary, so nobody can do it alone. We have to work together, and that was the mood of this common joint activity.
Yeah, and I think you're really at the forefront of these developments. So I think you're the first to offer commercial offering, I think, or maybe you can enlighten us a little bit about what you've been doing in that respect.
So we are already have launched a product which is called Live Video Production, which is really commercially available in the German market, and people can buy it today. And this reserves a certain bandwidth at a certain location for a certain time. So it's on demand. You can book it. It's there, and I think we are the first one with that.
Okay, so exciting times in the world of 5G in both the private and the public space as well.
Sure.
So Markus, please don't go away. We're going to come back to you within the discussion. But for now, we're going to move on to David and talk a little bit about your role within Sony.
Yep.
So David, what do you do within Sony?
Okay, so I'm a workflow specialist within Sony. So my main role is to understand and study our customers' workflows, and then look at how new technologies can introduce potential for better efficiency in their workflows and better use of that content, and also providing feedback back to the factory about how we can develop our products with enhanced capabilities to further support those workflows.
Okay, so you're spending part of your time in the office or in the lab?
Yeah.
And then the other part at the cutting edge?
Yeah, with the customers.
Yeah, and how long have you been doing that?
20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so quite a bit of experience in in this realm. And as
Yeah.
we've said, you teamed up. We're going to talk to you in a moment, Gareth, about the specific test that you were running at Whisper. But first of all, tell us a little bit about this new device, which we saw in Markus' video we were using in the laboratory in Poland.
Yeah, so I've got one here. This is the PDT-FP1. I think we've got a bit of a video just to talk about some of the key features, and then I'll talk about what I'm showing here.
We'll do that, yeah. And you told me earlier that you don't like watching yourself on videos.
No,
I don't think many people do. So you might want to look away for a moment at this time while we run the very nice video.
My name's David Trepess. I'm a workflow specialist at Sony, and I'd like to introduce you to Sony's new portable data transmitter, the PDT-FP1. So here it is. This is the PDT-FP1. It looks a little bit like a phone. It's got a 6.1-inch OLED screen, runs the Android operating system, but it also has a number of features that make it something quite different. The PDT-FP1 is a dedicated connected camera device. It's not a mobile phone doubling up as a transmitter. The PDT-FP1 represents the latest chapter in Sony's connected camera story, where we started with in-camera RTMP and FTP functions, and then more recently used a mobile phone attached to the camera as an intermediary delivery device. The FP1 is optimized for transmission. It supports 5G and millimeter wave technology. It supports SIM switching, so you can switch between networks, and it also has an Ethernet connection, so if you want a guaranteed wired connection, you can use that as well. It's got a range of connectivity, such as HDMI input, USB ports, one for data and one for power, and it also has a 1/4-inch screw hole so you can securely attach it to your camera. There's also a fan which enables many hours of continued use without overheating. The HDMI input enables almost every camera with an HDMI output to be a connected camera and live stream. Your content is transferred from the camera to the device, so you can pack your camera away and leave a PDT-FP1 to manage the upload. The Sony apps running on the device enable simple connection to our cameras and also to our cloud services such as C and C3P. The FP1 has 256 gigabytes of SSD storage and will also accept a 1 terabyte micro SD card, giving the device ample storage. So I hope that gives you a brief introduction into the PDT-FP1, Sony's new portable data transmitter. This is a device for photographers, for videographers and content creators who want to upload content to the cloud, who want to live stream and also have a device as an external monitor.
So I hope that wasn't too painful, David, to watch that. And what I would say as well is for the viewers watching in the office or at home, you can enter questions via the Q&A tab on your Vimeo browser. So please keep the questions coming. We're putting them together and we'll answer as many of them as we can at the end of the session. So David, we saw in the video there that you had the device connected, I think, to a Z280 camera?
Yeah, so that was connected to a Z280. Here I've got one connected to the Alpha 7S Mark III, and this is made possible with the recent firmware update that was released a couple of weeks ago. So what we're showing, what you saw in the video, was a couple of apps being used. One was the external monitor app, and that's what we can see here. So that's just with the HDMI input from the camera into the PDT-FP1. So this means that any camera that has a HDMI out can be used as a external monitor and a live streaming device. With this application that comes with the device, it supports external monitor, which has certain features like zebra and peaking and grid lines, which make it a really useful larger screen than the small screen you get on most cameras. But also you can just press a button and live stream to YouTube or your social media outlet as well. And then whilst we're running this app, we can also be running a second application called the Creators App for Enterprise. And don't be deceived by the name, although it's got Enterprise in the title, really that app is for anyone that wants to get their video content from their Sony camera into the cloud. So that provides a really simple connection just via USB-C on this camera. And every time you record a file, it will then upload that to our C Media cloud service or to our C3 portal cloud service. So that kind of shows some of the key features. as you can see, it's got a off-the-shelf mounting system, so you can securely attach it to your camera, and it has really good connectivity for getting your files into the cloud, and that includes an Ethernet connection for a wired connection. Also, it has SIM switching as well, so you can switch between a physical SIM and also an eSIM to get the best network condition, and that will automatically switch depending on your network upload speeds.
So in your case, coming directly from the camera into the FP1, Markus, when you were testing in the lab, we were coming out of the encoder, the HEVC ultra-low latency encoder, again via the FP1 onto your network in the laboratory. So some similar.
Yeah, so with Markus's case, it was very much a focus on live production, whereas here you can do live production via the streaming in the device, but also you can do file upload. And currently, the fastest way to get your content is using proxies. But as 5G and the slicing becomes available, then we can start looking at high-res workflows as well.
Yeah, and we're going to look at that in a moment with some images, again, around Gareth's case study. And you mentioned working with cloud. How easy was that to set up?
So to work with a camera?
With the cloud.
Oh, with the cloud, it's extremely easy. When we were doing that shoot, we created a brand new C account, the C Media Cloud account, that required just 3 fields. It required my name, my email address, and a password, and that was it. I had a C account with 10 gigabytes of storage. And then I just created what's called a file request, which provides a 8-digit code that you code into the app. And once you've connected it to your camera, you're uploading content to your C Media Cloud. So I would say within 3 minutes, I'd created a brand new cloud account, and I was uploading content from my camera to C Media Cloud. And it didn't cost me a penny.
Oh, that's fantastic, yeah. So Hitomi, you're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in the session. For now, I'd maybe pick up you talked about the 5G capabilities, you've talked very in much detail. And I think it's fair to say that yourself and Gareth, this is not the first time that you've met. You've done a lot of work together. So maybe we can turn to Gareth for a few minutes and introduce you, and maybe you can say a few words about Whisper and your role within the company.
So I'm Gareth Steven. I'm the head of post-production at Whisper. And Whisper creates content for UEFA, we do all of the Formula 1 for Channel 4. We're going to be producing Paralympic coverage for this summer's games in Paris. And then for the case studies we did with David, we picked our NFL End Zone show on Channel 5, and also our esports, one of our esports events that was filmed at Elstree. So the esports event, I think, was the one that allowed us to do the most in-depth testing. I think we kind of did everything that we wanted to, from shoot to edit. I was there in the edit on site, and David was with one of our camera operators in the studio. So it gave us the chance to do a full end-to-end test.
And how long have you been discussing this possibility of running this test?
Well, we've been working together about the last 3 or 4 years, I think, exploring different ways of getting content from cameras into the cloud so that they can be edited quicker and be made more accessible. But I think it's only really since this has become available, or imminently available, that these sort of workflows are kind of more realistic.
Yeah, and you're able to find 2 specific events where really great opportunity to test. So I think the first test that you were running was really around low resolution proxy. I think we have an image showing the configuration, and I don't know if Gareth or David, you want to talk through this?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So what we're showing here is from the C Media Cloud, when you create your file request, you can attach certain metadata fields to that file request. So you can set production name, camera operator, producer, location, anything else that you want to set. When you send that file request to the PDT-FP1, then everything that's captured on that device will be given that metadata. And people in the field can also add extra metadata as well as that content's coming in. So your content can be marked up when it gets to the cloud. And then the files will go from the camera to the PDT-FP1 as they're being recorded, or after they're being recorded. So you've got a copy on your camera, and then you've got a copy on the device, and then they'll get uploaded to C Media Cloud. So that means that when your content's on the FP1, you can switch your camera off, pack it away, and your camera's not being tied up with uploading, and you can be uploading when you've got the best network connection available. And then the high res, in this case, was going via a separate route, via a card reader, directly into Premiere in this case, where it can be relinked to the proxy.
Okay. And Gareth, this is, I think, what you were specifically interested in testing. What is the current way that you would operate in that domain?
Yeah, so traditionally, if we've got a shoot on, it could be an interview in Manchester, it could be an interview in Birmingham, something like that. If you're sending a camera team up, you're then having to wait for them to come back with the rushes a lot of the times. So this option takes away that travel time. So the low-res proxy could be uploaded. It could be in one of our edits. The editor can start editing on the low-res. The producer can start looking through any footage, start logging, do a paper cut of their edit, find out what's good. And it basically takes away that 2-3 hours of them in the train coming back with some cards. So for us, anything that can cut down time and increase the creative side of it is definitely a bonus.
Yeah, fantastic, yeah.
I think another thing that we kind of thought about is, as you're shooting, the proxies can be getting transferred, and then when you're on that train journey back, you can be plugging your card reader into the device, and then using the same tools, be uploading your high res. So by the time you got back from on your journey, all your high res can be available for your edit as well.
Sounds like a good thing to be testing, and some good benefits to through the technology itself. So what are you looking to test or interested in doing in the future? Have you got other
I think for us, because a lot of the projects we do involve big sporting arenas, big sporting stadiums. So it would be great, I guess it kind of ties in with Markus's field, is to test the workflow from a large sporting event, where traditionally you'd have the cameraman or camera operator at pitch side and someone physically getting the camera cards, taking it back to the edit, could be on the other side of the stadium, whereas this option gives us the possibility that the editor doesn't necessarily even have to be in the same building. They can be on the other side of the country, as long as there's a good enough internet connection to upload the high res at the end of it. You can make everything a lot more efficient, a lot quicker.
Yeah, and that's where, as you say, the things that you were talking about, Markus, where we're operating in areas where there's a huge, maybe potentially a very large number of other people, the ability to have slicing and optimization is pretty attractive in that kind of area as well.
Yeah, I think you have two problems for a football soccer stadium. The one is you need a reserved bandwidth for your video streams, and the second one, you typically don't have only one camera, you have more, like in a soccer game, from different directions, and you have to optimize the one who is really producing the TV signal.
Yeah.
So, and that is dynamically changing and very fast changing, and you need a mechanism for that, and we are working on this combined product to enable this use case.
Yeah, but you can monitor the tallies of the cameras, whichever camera is going onto air, the bandwidth, the network performance can be optimized for that camera, and that could be really useful in the situation that, Gareth, you're talking about, where you've got hundreds or maybe tens of thousands of people also in that location. So that's great. So thanks very much. We'll come back, I'm sure, in a few minutes to talk in a bit more detail. But for now, there's a good link here, because we've gone from the 5G networking part with Markus via the FP1 with David into the test case with Gareth. And we also mentioned there was a big cloud production component as well. So what I'd like to do now is bring Hitomi. You've been waiting very patiently over half an hour to make a comment. So Hitomi, can you tell us something about your role and what you're doing within Sony?
Yeah, sure. So I am a product manager managing cloud solutions or cloud-enabled solutions, including AI at Sony in Europe. I originally I started my career as a journalist, so I certainly can relate to what Gareth said about bringing the card back. Well, back then it was a tape, but I had to bring the tape back to the station so that the tape can be used for the broadcast. And that was using lots of time, lots of logistics, and now it can be replaced by that device FP1, and you can send it to across the cloud, which is amazing. So I've been thinking, when I was a journalist, there's a lot of things happening in technologies. There's a lot technology can do to improve the media landscape. So I'm kind of in the job, really exciting job of being able to do that, bringing the new technology into the media landscape, changing the way people work and making it more efficient for the creators and the users of the technology.
Yeah, and we've been hearing about the C Media Cloud from David and from Gareth. Can you say a little bit more about C Media Cloud and how it fits into Sony's overall offering in terms of cloud services?
Yeah, of course, the last piece of this, the entire journey starting from 5G, FP1, and is that the cloud, how it works on the cloud. So Sony has the ecosystem or suite of cloud applications, including how to send content from camera to cloud straight, that David mentioned earlier, and how to manage content on the cloud, or how to do the live broadcasting on the cloud, or how to use the cloud-enabled functionalities like AI. There's a huge hype on the AI. So we call it Creators Cloud because we want to make that cloud application for creators.
I think we have an image to show. Yeah,
there's a lot of applications. You can see lots of logos for the Creators Cloud. And the one, that C Media Cloud that we are talking about, is the one on the top. It says CI, it's called C. And if you scan this QR code, you can go to the website. As David mentioned, it's free to sign up. You have a 10 gigabyte of free storage. It's just less than a minute to create the account. It would be great if you can try this out because it doesn't cost you a penny. So so the link is right there. So we have then the C. Why we have that as a biggest part of this logo group is that C has been the cornerstone of Creators Cloud, and C is surprisingly it's 10 years old. We've been developing C, this cloud application, 10 years back, and it's been now used by many industry leaders, including Sony Pictures, Universal Music, or many other sports federations. So what's good about C is that it does lots of things. We call it 5-in-1 tool. So it can do file transfer, accelerated file transfer, transcoding, file management or asset management on the cloud, collaboration, it's a collaboration tool, and also it does the archive. So we can replace whatever you have in your organization. It's usually quite siloed. You have the tool for transcoding, you have a tool for asset management, but C can replace all of that as a 5-in-1 tool. So that's why it's quite popular, and that's why it's used by many customers.
And how are you seeing cloud workflows being used by these other customers that you talk about? Because you talk about different application areas. I guess each one has a slightly different requirement. You were mentioning that the background is originated in Sony Pictures many years ago, but now being used in different areas. Say a little bit more about how maybe film company would be maybe different to somebody who's covering sports, for example.
Yeah, it's quite different. You're right, Peter. So I'll talk to you about some example about the Sony Pictures. You can probably imagine Sony Pictures is a big company, so there's no one single way that they're using. They're using the C in many ways. But they have the blockbuster film coming out, or they have the very indie type of the TV production. So they have a lot of workflows fit for purpose. What they do is normally they send the content uploaded, and they will use that for the collaboration, and also they use that for the review. So C has a lot of security function in there, so that those blockbuster films won't get leaked before the release, of course. So that's something that we are really proud of in terms of the C. And so that's how the production companies see. And in terms of sports, we have quite good examples around the sports federation, for example. I can talk about the example of the Commonwealth Games, for example. They've been using C. What they do is, if the event is as big as Commonwealth Games, you can probably imagine there are over 70 Commonwealth associations, each country's individual countries who are associated like, rights holder. They want to use the content from the game. And on top of that, they have sponsors and other rights holders. And you can imagine how complex it is to take the live feed and take that shot to these multiple 70 different associations. How are you going to do that? So the cloud-enabled technology combined with C has enabled that, because we have the orchestration system that knows, okay, this game starts from this date, from this time, so I'm going to hit the record. So the C will get the live recording straight. And then this orchestration system knows, because this game is about this, and in this game, this has the athletes from this country, this country, this country. Well, this will distribute to this association, this association, this association. And it can be done all automatically. So it's like really, I wouldn't like the word using magic, but if you have to do everything this on-prem, it's like a magic. So it's lots of time reduction, improving the efficiency, real-time access to the content, and enhancing the collaboration. So what we want to do really is remove the barriers, or like logistics and all the time-consuming tasks, and delivering the content from the feed straight to the creator who would need it, so that they can edit it and release it and publish it wherever they need to publish it straight away. So that's what we can do with C.
And it all sounds very exciting. So I think an exciting future. We've already seen on the networking side with Markus, how the way that these technologies are developing and now coming to fruition. And I think it's the same with cloud and the FP1, obviously, with what David's been talking about and the way that it can help with workflows that Gareth has been interested in. It's all kind of tying together pretty well. So I think at the moment, for now, we've covered quite a lot of ground. And I'm just thinking we're a little bit ahead of time, but it might be worth looking to see if we have had any questions. I mean, you can continue to send them in, but I have an assistant here where Spencer, thank you. Okay, so let's see what we have. So we've got a question here from Markus. Can you tell me a little bit more about optimizing 5G access in the German telecom network and how that would work? So it's about the optimization of the network.
Yeah, so we are preparing a new capability which is called quality in demand, and with that it's an API, and with that you can influence data connection and optimize it, and that leads that you have a stable bandwidth and that you get a stable low latency. So that are two factors you can influence, and it's depending on the use case what you want to have. So some use cases like the video production are focusing more on bandwidth. I know latency is also a topic, and I remember it personally in the World Championship in Germany when I sat at home in front of my Sony TV and watched a game of the champion of the German equipe, and my neighbors watched too, and they cried 10 seconds before I could see the goal. Then I knew how important latency is. Yeah. So. This API helps for both, and you can decide what you want to focus on.
And there is a follow-up question to that, which is talking specifically about the API and the Camara API. And it's how do I find out more about Camara API? Is there a website or somewhere that we can go to find out more?
Well, possibly I have to answer more. We are not the only one working on these APIs, because we identified it very early that we are only creating successful business if all the telcos have the same APIs in their networks, so that the customers have a seamless access between telco networks, between countries. That's a key success factor of the whole thing. And that was the time when we initiated Camara together with others. It's an open source project in the Linux Foundation, and the scope is to de facto standardize the APIs via code. So to have a global standard of the API.
Yeah.
And if you want to learn more, please feel free. We have a great website. It's camaraproject.org. There you can find I think in our 23 API families where we are currently working, and you can see how the project is organized and what do you need to do if you want to join. So you're welcome to join. We have currently more than 350 companies and more than 1,000 people in Camara. So it's also a success story at the site.
So it's definitely a destination to be looking for more information and
Yes.
get all the background details. Thank you for that, Markus.
Yeah.
Now looking down the questions, we've got one maybe for Gareth, which is the question is, what edit platform did you use to do the tests?
So everything was done in Adobe Premiere, and we used the Sony C panel that's built into the software. Predominantly everything we do is Premiere, but we also do some Avid and also DaVinci Resolve.
Okay, that's good.
All of those platforms are going to be supported soon as well, aren't they?
Yeah, we will have some exciting announcements soon, so that we can support lots of post-production workflows, including the nearline edit.
Okay, thank you. And I think this leads to a question maybe for you, Hitomi. What other apps does PDT work with? Does it work with C3P for news broadcast, for example?
Yeah, it works with all of the cloud-related application we have. So we work with C Media Cloud. It works with C3P. C3P is the camera sending the content from camera to cloud. That's targeted for the news organizations. And that works with the live platform M2L. And so, yeah, essentially, yes, is the short answer.
Fantastic, thank you.
Just to add to that, because it's an Android platform, you can also access to the Play Store as well, so you could run third-party apps as well.
Yeah.
And the question, can you remind us which camera models the PDT works with?
Okay, it's a long list of,
maybe not all of them.
it's a long list of cameras.
Yeah.
Well, for live streaming, it's any camera that's got HDMI out, or almost any camera. I haven't tested every single one. So as long as it's got an HDMI out, you can connect it to the PDT-FP1 and live stream. For our file workflows, then it's a growing range of Sony cameras. As I said earlier, the Alpha 7S Mark III was added just a few days ago. So it starts from Alpha 7S Mark III, FX3, FX30, up to FX6, FX9, Z280, FX9, and some of the shoulder mount cameras as well, all the way up to Burano. So it's a growing range of cameras are getting that support. And with that support, it provides a much greater level of connectivity to the camera. So rather than just recording the content on the device, you're actually reaching into the camera, or the content is being transferred from the camera to the device, and you're using the native camera content rather than a secondary recorded.
Okay, now that looks like at the moment the questions that we have. You can continue to keep sending them in, but for now I think I'm going to hand this back to my colleague. Thank you, Spencer. And I think we've had a really good discussion over the past 45 minutes. We've actually covered a lot of subjects a little bit quicker than I would have thought. We've reserved an hour for the webinar, and we seem to have reached a good point after 45 minutes. So I think it's great that we've been able to talk about the developments in 5G technology, and specifically with slicing and dynamic optimization of routes and Camara API, and how that can really benefit the live production going all the way up to the high end with lots of people at the location. We combine that with some of our ultra low latency encoding, the FP1 onto the network, and using our orchestration tools to control everything. And then David, you gave us a very good overview of the FP1 and a nice video, which I'm sure you enjoyed watching. And then Gareth, it was great to talk about Whisper and the things that you've been doing, the things you've been testing, the way that you're working, operating currently, and how you're looking to improve those workflows over the foreseeable future. And then Hitomi, a great roundup of the capability of the cloud, some of the in detail operational advantages and where you think that is going. So before we finish, I don't know if anybody has any final comments that they want to make, or any questions for the other members of the panel between yourselves?
A quick comment. I think a lot of what we've spoken about is at more of an organisational enterprise type level. But a lot of the tools that we've been talking about, like C and the Creators App for Enterprise and the external monitor, they're accessible and appropriate for individuals and smaller production companies as well as the larger organisations as well.
Yeah. And any questions you want to ask each other?
Yeah, that's adding on to David's point, because it's a really good point, because you don't, as much as I want, people to buy this device, you don't really need, you can just use your phone, right? You have your phone, you can just attach that to the camera and you can use the workflow in the cloud. It's just a transmitter device, so it's not, I think we're in a point where all these, the 5G and, cutting edge technologies are more like democratized for the use of the individuals or like freelancers, small scale productions, so that they can get the benefits of this workflow and the latest technology. And that's a great thing about technology, isn't it? Because we start with the POCs, and then between the collaboration with these partners from Deutsche Telekom, and also we couldn't do this development without someone like Whisper. So I think it's been a great collaboration and the industry team effort to move this forward. But at the same time, this cloud technology is available even to anyone, like in the size, regardless of the size. So I think that's a great thing that, if you want to try, it's available.
Fantastic. Yeah. And Markus, any?
Let's continue it. I think it's already a success story, but we have to continue it to finalize this product. We are technology partners. We all have a puzzle part, and if we put it together, we have a great solution, and that helps from a big video production company to a small influencer, and help them to produce videos, to get rid of cables, to get rid of expensive satellite connections, to have it flexible and cheap, and that's the thing that the customers need. So let's continue. Let's work on it.
That sounds fantastic. And Gareth, any final comment?
Anything that helps take away any sort of unwanted delay and lets you increase that creative process is always going to be a good thing. And innovating technology like the unit here is only going to make things better for everyone, really.
Something we've discussed when we've been working together is reducing the burden from the people on the field as well. So you can introduce things like this into the field, but if that introduces additional tasks that the camera operator has to do, then they're not going to do it. But with something like this, they can just record, start, record, stop, and the content is automatically
fantastic. Well, it's been an incredibly interesting discussion. It's gone very quickly. So all that it leaves me to do is to really thank you for joining us today on the webinar. Thanks to Markus.
It was our pleasure.
Thank you for travelling to see us today. Thanks to Hitomi, to Gareth, and to David. And if you want to find out more about any of the things that we've talked about today, you can look at our website, pro.sony, or you can talk to your account manager within Sony, your contacts within Whisper, or within Deutsche Telekom, I'm sure. And I'll look at the clock, and we're actually giving you 10 minutes of your day back. We've got through the session relatively quickly, so we'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us, for sending in your questions. We hope you enjoyed the webinar and found some of the information useful. Thanks very much for joining, and see you next time. Thank you.